It wasn't pretty, but a win is a win. Did we finally see the real Trent Richardson on Sunday? Will we see him again this Sunday? And can the Browns win 2 games in a row and 3 straight at home? The Baltimore Ravens come into Cleveland Browns Stadium bruised and battered as they come off a bye week and a 30-point beatdown by the Houston Texans the week before that. Can the Browns take advantage of all of those Ravens injuries? We'll break it all down for you next on Sunday Strategy, presented by Audi of Bedford. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Strategy, presented by Audi of Bedford. Jim Donovan along with you. The Browns will try and make it 3 consecutive wins at Brown Stadium this Sunday afternoon as they get back into divisional play when they take on the Baltimore Ravens, who come into town at 5-2. The Browns are now 2-6, but they've won 2 of their last 3 games. Cincinnati, the loss to the Colts, and a 7-6 thriller last Sunday in all of that bad weather down at the stadium when they held off the San Diego Chargers. We break down the game against the Ravens with Tony Grossi of ESPNCleveland.com, Doug Deacon, my partner on the Browns radio network. I'm excited about this game. I'm excited to really see where the Browns are inside the division.
Well, you know, they've improved so much, I think, since the first time they met Baltimore, and Baltimore seems to have gone the other way. So the playing field's been leveled a little bit.
Doug, what do you think?
I think, we're seeing the young guys getting a little more consistent. I think the fact that a lot of them had to play is really going to help because the depth is so important. And then now you're starting to get people healthy again. Yeah,
which we will go into right now. And we'll talk first about the Browns running back who really gave them a gallant effort last Sunday. Trent Richardson had 122 yards rushing in the ball game last week against a good San Diego run defense. I still think it's a good San Diego run defense. Maybe the numbers hid the fact that a lot of teams throw against them. But, I mean, they can stop the run. He gave the Browns a big game. He's still not 100%, suffering through some sore ribs, but he played very, very well. Can he do it again this week?
Well, I think that game inspired his teammates because he wasn't at 100%. I mean, he was 100% better than the previous 2 games, but I think everyone on the team realized he was playing with sore ribs. And that kind of game might have been not have been the biggest yardage game ever, but I think it was the type of inspirational performance that really creates a team around him.
Doug, you've always said that an offensive line really rallies when a running back and a running game starts going like it did last week.
Well, all offensive linemen want to run the ball. I mean, that's a more enjoyable way to play the game. And usually it means you've got a lead. But I think, Trent Richardson still has not scratched the surface because he has not got really enough reps in full speed with this offensive line. And I think once he does, we're going to see an even different. And the thing was, Sunday, you knew they were going to run because of the weather.
Right.
And they couldn't stop him.
Yeah. All right. Now, he did not have a big rushing game in that Thursday night game against Baltimore over there. I think he ran for just over 40 yards, just shy of 50. He caught the ball for close to 60 in that ball game. So it wasn't a big running day, but we'll see. They're different. And as you mentioned, Tony, the Ravens are different defensively. Now, to Brandon Weeden, can he continue to go on this uptick that it seems happens every week? And it's more like what he didn't do last week in the game against San Diego that really has people saying, boy, he is starting to get it. I mean, he didn't put the ball in peril on a perilous day throwing the football. Now, this is a defense that can still hurt you if you throw the ball and make a mistake. Now, do you think we see him continue to grow this Sunday?
Well, I think if they don't ask him to throw the ball 50 times, the chances improve dramatically of him not making that one play like he did in the first Baltimore game, that pick 6. And I think it's more than just on Weeden. It's on everybody and the coaches too to try to create some balance. They did so last week because of the weather. I'm wondering if it's a sunny, mild day, what happens? I'm not too sure.
Okay, Doug, back in that Thursday night game, against Baltimore. He did get picked for a touchdown. Kerry Williams took him back all the way, but he's come a long way since that game. And it just seems though he doesn't make the same mistake over and over again.
And that was a learning curve situation where he just had the guy motion a couple yards, so the defensive back was just kind of sitting on the route, and he let the ball hang out there on a quick out on a 5-yard throw. You see him every week. You see him make a decision that says, I think he's getting it. I think he's getting it.
Yeah, and of course he watched the game on Tuesday night, the Thursday night game, and he says to himself, listen, I can see things that I wouldn't do that again, or I might try this again, or we're doing this better than we were doing it back then. I mean, a lot of them have come to him, too, and become better players.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Josh Gordon wasn't a factor in the first Baltimore game, and now he's a real factor because defenses have to go back further, and that opens up Richardson more.
All right, let's go to the Browns defense, which, Doug, came off a great performance last week against San Diego. They stifled Phillip Rivers. They protected that lead the entire afternoon because that 7-0 lead came early in the game on the Browns' first drive, and then they just held them to 2 field goals and then stopped them in the end. Dick Jauron really had a great plan against San Diego.
Well, he had a great plan, and I think, the game kind of dictated to do something for the Chargers that they really didn't want to do. I think they wanted to throw the football, and the weather conditions didn't allow them to get down the field like they like to do. This week, I think Tony and I were talking earlier, if it's dry or wet, I think our team can play either way now.
Yeah. So, Tony, in the first game, in that Thursday night game, the Browns did get to Joe Flacco a number of times. But, there were other times that he was able to keep the play alive and make a big play out of it. I mean, that's Flacco.
Yeah.
I mean, he can do that.
Well, Hayden didn't play in that game.
True.
And we all thought, I did, a lot of people thought that Flacco would have an enormous game, and he really didn't. His numbers ended up, they threw so much, but the Browns defense was still in that game. This is one of the reasons why the Browns are so much better now. Hayden's back in and playing great, and Buster Skrine is a different player now than he was for that Baltimore game.
Yeah, and of course, Skrine was a young kid playing in that game. And I don't think there was a game in the 4 that Hayden missed that was, was crying for him to play in that game against the Ravens that night.
And I think we have to find out how you cover Bolden because he's been the guy, be it Eric Wright or Brandon McDonald or whoever last time.
And you see, Doug, the scary part about that is that Bolden was nothing in the first half in that game. It was Torrey Smith. It was Pitta. But then all of a sudden he had like 9 catches in the second half of that game.
I think it was also, wasn't that the game Sheldon Brown just played one play?
Yes.
And so they were down to Patterson and Skrine. Now you got Brown, Hayden, Brown, and in a different Skrine, really. So their secondary is a lot better.
Now, the Browns are going to get a little help, it looks like, on the defensive line. Phil Taylor has deemed himself ready to go. He has practiced full go this week. Now, how much he'll be able to play, they're not sure yet. Will he start? He says he probably will not start. But Big 98 hops into the middle of that Browns defense. Now, Ataba Rubin may not play again because of that calf injury. But what effect do you think Taylor will have, even if he plays a minimal amount of action?
Yeah, I mean, 20 snaps, I mean, that's probably a third of the game. I mean, if he makes, 1 or 2 big stops among those 20 snaps, it could be the difference in a drive and be a momentum changer causing them to punt. I think it makes a big difference. I mean, he's the biggest guy on the defensive front, and I think they've missed not only the players, I think they missed that size in the middle.
Tony, you mentioned it as we questioned Dick Jauron today. You said, what's it been like missing some 600 and some odd pounds when you take Taylor out and Rubin's not in there either? Doug, what would you look for from Taylor?
Well, I think we're going to see the same thing. What Baltimore did with Suggs. They played him about 20 snaps last game that they had. But we also have to remember Taylor's only in his second year. Mm-hmm. It's not like the veteran that comes in.
Sure.
But so one of the ball players was telling me yesterday at practice that he clubbed Ryan Miller and just knocked him. Ryan Miller's like 330 pounds, just knocked him down. So I think Phil Taylor's ready to play some football.
Okay, so it will be a welcome sight to see Phil Taylor in the Browns defense, however many plays he goes on Sunday against Baltimore. Now, when we come back, we'll go inside the Ravens a little bit more because they are beaten up, even coming off a bye week. They have big-time injuries, and it starts with 52 Ray Lewis when we return.